In today's episode, I will be playing as a nation that has a really rough start, specifically the Kingdom of Jerusalem, which will have to face a much stronger opponent. Yes, the Nizarid Sultanate. My initial goal will be to establish a Crusader stronghold, and later on to create a Latin empire. The only problem is that I'm a Catholic nation, surrounded on three sides by Sunni enemies, and my main opponent has a bigger army, a better economy, and is more well-liked in the region. Oh, and did I mention that the Nizarids have a genius ruler with the Conqueror trait, and that one of their country's first missions is to conquer me? Yes, this is definitely going to be one of those campaigns. Welcome imperialists, Lucas here. But what are the Crusaders doing here? Why are there even Nizarids in this region? Well, it's because I'm recording this episode in one of the best historical alternatives, Antebellum. In this timeline, the power of the Holy Roman Empire lost the war to drive the Andalusians out of Iberia. As a result, the Catholic position in this Europe isn't as strong as it was in reality. Meanwhile, the Nizarids are a sect that took advantage of the situation. You might know them from another game. Yes, it's that assassin sect, and this is their new state. And I'm playing as the Bad Templars, who don't have much time, just 3 years to do something, anything to survive. And even then, a lot will depend on luck. But you, my viewers, are lucky. I have started cooperation with Eneba, a website where you can buy cheaper keys from reliable and legal sources. I have been working with them on my Polish channel for 4 years and my viewers rarely had problems. And if they did appear, the support always helped in a few moments. So if you are looking for cheaper DLC for EU4, I recommend Eneba. And if you want to support me, use the links under the video. I'm not handing out too many privileges since I'll be expanding very quickly. I just take cheaper loans, which I spend on recruiting an army, hoping to get a cheaper military advisor, which luckily worked out. Now I cancel recruitment and the mission is basically complete. The next logical step would be securing Catholic allies. But I have a slightly different plan. From my test run, I know that strategy likely won't work. Everyone loves the Nizarids. So I pick these two rivals because, well, I have no other options. I immediately start improving relations with the Seljuks, the natural enemies of the Nizarids, and with the Republic of Venice. I release Syria as a vassal, since Syria has some territorial claims, especially against the Crusaders in Antioch. I hire a cheaper advisor and don't change my court stance because I'll also need a lot of administrative points. Yes, you know what that means. Conquest, a lot of conquest. I recruit a cheap mercenary company and don't ally with either Cyprus or Antioch. My ruler will be effective at capturing fortresses, but he shouldn't be leading armies in battle. On December 12th, I get a bit lucky, so I declare war on Antioch, which has no allies. It's usually Cyprus. My army lands immediately, and in the meantime, one of my diplomats starts fabricating claims on Cyprus. I also begin constructing a few transport ships, at least 2. Now I quickly sail back with my new fleet to pick up the rest of my troops and send them to my main army after capturing this province. And I move in against Antioch's forces without delay because, as you can see, their army is growing. Despite the disadvantages, I should win this battle. Beautiful, I completely crushed Antioch's forces. Once my army replenishes, I'll send it to the siege, since I need at least 9,000 troops to take this fortress. My army replenishes faster when stationed on controlled territory and even faster on national territory. During the siege of Antioch, we would receive reinforcements, but much more slowly. The fortress in Antioch fell quickly. Since Syria is relatively large, at least compared to my kingdom, I take the territory of Antioch for myself, plus some cash. I can't afford to maintain the newly captured fortress, so I demolish it. And just to be clear, I don't plan to attack this country, Cilicia or however you pronounce it, yet. I can't afford to border the Seljuks directly. As soon as they wouldn't be too fond of having a Catholic neighbor, I fabricate claims on Cyprus and attack that country as well. Oh, I even managed to sink part of their fleet. Wish me luck that my army is enough to defeat Cyprus, because due to the naval landing, I'm taking huge penalties. Although my numerical advantage should do the trick. Now I'm improving relations with Ragusa. I need 3 Catholic nations in an alliance. The walls of Cyprus fell, but the siege still lasted over 200 days. I take Cyprus for myself as well. I demolish this fortress too. I can't afford to maintain it. I ally with the Knights of Rhodes. I insult the Croats and the Georgians. And that almost lets me form an alliance with the Seljuks. Almost. So I'll use a little trick here. I rarely use it because it's quite expensive. I have to recruit a bit more army. This makes the Seljuks perceive me as stronger and agree to an alliance. And since my relations with them are now secure, I can dismiss the extra troops. The alliance remains intact. Now, unfortunately, I have to attack this country, because the Nizarids have attacked them as well. In the meantime, I'm also gaining favor points with the Seljuks. Atana fell very quickly. I'm taking all the provinces I can. This way that province definitely won't fall into Nizarid hands, unless they decide to vassalize it. I hope they don't. Next, I form an alliance with Ragusa, but unfortunately not with Venice. Now I can finally disband my excess army down to the limit, literally just 3 units, I'm dismissing the cavalry because I can't afford it, and I'm keeping the third fortress I captured. I have to admit, I regained quite a lot of land, up to 18%. I also started building a spy network against the Nizarids. After some time, I managed to secure a third Catholic alliance, which lets me complete this mission, though not necessarily in the intended way. The mission bonus is very strong since I'll get +1 to dice rolls in defensive battles. Another nice bonus is 5 trust points with all my allies. That's why I really wanted to secure the Seljuks and Venice before completing this mission. I gather my army and now I can take the alliance with Venice. But let's be honest, they won't help me in the upcoming war, especially since they like the Nizarids anyway. I take cheap loans. And that's all the preparation needed to declare war on the Nizarids, just to have a fighting chance. I managed to assemble a decent coalition against them. Our forces are even somewhat comparable. But more importantly, I've nearly doubled the number of loans I can take, because that's what determines how long this war will last. The casus belli will be to reclaim the Syrian province of Hadab, which has a fortress. Capturing and holding this fortress will be key to victory. I order my Syrian vassal's army to join my main force. That's this option here. Okay, the Nizarids have arrived, so I'm activating the defensive measures on my territory and calling the Templars to defend the castles. This will make my fortresses last twice as long under siege. If luck is on my side, the Seljuk forces quickly defeated the Nizarid allies. I'll just take money from them. I'm also hoping the Seljuks will help me capture the fortress. Success! The objective is secured. Now I rush my armies back to Jerusalem. Completing this mission will give me additional military bonuses. I'm winning battles, but I'm taking massive losses. And right after that, another battle begins. Honestly, I thought I was going to lose, but that extra dice roll made all the difference. The Nizarids are exhausted. They have no manpower left, only 27,000 troops. And now other nations have started helping me in this war. Interesting. Unfortunately, this war can't end too quickly. I need 75 war score, but I also need to get it before the year 55. Thanks to my ruler's fortress conquering abilities, they're falling very fast. Once again, I have to defend Jerusalem from the Nizarid forces. This will be the third or fourth battle against them. I'm winning, but my losses are much higher than theirs. The Seljuks aren't doing great either, though I'll support them wherever I can. I need to attack the Nizarids whenever I get onto a fortress I'm sieging, like here in Damascus, where a battle is starting, and my reinforcements were horribly timed. Though maybe it won't turn out so badly for me after all. Phew, the Seljuks came to my aid. I'll try to capture Al-Karak again. Got it. And since I completed the Triumph of the Cross mission 4 months ahead of time, I now get a permanent 20% reduction in the cost of conquering provinces with a different religion. Now, I would have gotten Antioch and Cyprus as vassals, but, well, you know, I conquered them earlier. Here's the peace deal I'm making. I'm returning nearly all the land to Syria. I take war reparations for myself, 2 provinces, and some money. Returning Syria's lands this way will make them a very loyal vassal, and you'll have time to integrate them. Defeating the Nizarids was only the first step, and honestly the easier one. Because my country is completely drained from this war, I also have no manpower left. Economically, things aren't looking great either. Almost half my country follows a faith I don't accept, and there are rebellions brewing, though it could have been worse. But the power of the Nizarids has been shaken to the point that I can now see them as a rival of equal standing. I also recovered land for the crown, so now is a good time to start granting privileges. But my main goal for the next few years? Just not to go bankrupt. Because the real art isn't winning a war by maxing out debt and building armies beyond the limit, though I've already disbanded most of them. That way, you can defeat any country, at least in a single war. The real challenge is surviving what comes next. That's why I'm granting this privilege to the burghers, which lowers my loan interest rates. It's painful though, because it also increases my monarchy point costs by 5%. I also had to quickly suppress rebellions in Cyprus. Wonderful. More rebellions are coming anyway. I now have the chance to vassalize this Orthodox duchy next to me. All I need to do is improve relations to 200 points and they'll agree to everything. From my missions, I've received a ton of territorial claims and I plan to use them. That's why I'm taking out cheap loans and paying off all my high interest debt. I also fired my diplomatic advisor, I simply couldn't afford it. And now, while I'm running at a slight deficit, I'll start new wars with my neighbors, which will allow me to seize very wealthy territories in the Iraq region. This will be an easy war because my opponent is at military tech level 3, while I'm already at 5. Just in case though, I'll call in Venice for support, as I'll be facing several countries whose fortresses I'll need to capture. At the start, I focused on crushing my enemy's armies using my technological advantage. I'm literally massacring their forces. Fighting battles on my own fortresses is always a plus. Now I'm heading straight for Baghdad. Meanwhile, unfortunately, the Seljuks have declared me their rival and broken our alliance. Apparently, things were going too smoothly for me, so my ruler had to die too. Even without my ruler, Baghdad fell quickly and I returned home to suppress rebellions, which were now a huge problem, but I was hoping Venice would handle them for me. For my first government reform, I'm taking Invite the Orders, which reduces the cost of establishing orders in my territories. Venetian troops finally arrived. Too bad it was only after I had wiped out my enemy's armies. I do not recommend Venice. They're not a good ally. Before the war ends, I can take my first age ability, and I'm going for reduced aggressive expansion. There are quite a few Islamic countries in the area, and I don't want them forming a coalition against me. I ended the war by conquering mainly provinces along the Euphrates. I didn't want to explore further lands just yet. I was also able to establish a crusader state. I must admit, the new ideas look much better than what I currently have. Before that though, I completed a few missions, such as inviting Western scholars. I also began developing Jerusalem to introduce the Renaissance. Though, to be honest, Jaffa would have been a much better choice for that. Still, I need to develop Jerusalem for mission requirements. I'm finishing up my business in Cilicia. Since more tough wars are coming, I'm officially establishing the Crusader state and adopting new traditions and ambitions because I prefer discipline. I'll regain stronger morale right after my first idea advancement. Besides, I get another really nice bonus. Thanks to Levantine dominance, I get reduced coring costs for the next 20 years. And I'm developing the legacy of the Crusaders, the first bonus from my idea group. I might not even need to take military ideas for this country. Good news, a very strong heir was born. When the Seljuks conquered all of Georgia, it turned out that the country lost all its national cores. They literally don't exist anywhere. This is incredibly powerful, there won't be any national rebels. After a few years, I successfully embraced the Renaissance. Now it just needs to spread. From this point on, I'll focus on catching up with my technology because embracing the Renaissance was extremely expensive. I'm accepting Armenian culture. I didn't even realize it was so widespread in this region. With the development of Administrative Tech 5, it was time to choose my first idea group. No surprises here, I'm taking administrative ideas and I'll pair them with diplomatic later. To speed up the annexation of Syria, I'm taking a privilege for that. And in no time, I have a much bigger empire. The best part was inheriting Syria's army. I can almost afford to maintain it. By integrating Syria, I can now field an army of nearly 30,000 troops. I was waiting for this moment. Now I'll attack the Nizarids again, especially since I have a technological advantage and I'm activating my golden era. Though I am debating whether it might be better to wait until the Age of Reformation. Thanks to my first idea bonuses, the Nizarid armies don't stand a chance against me. It's clear from the battle losses. At this point, discipline simply outperforms morale every time. I don't even need to wait for them to siege my fortresses. I'm launching an attack and wiping out all the minor Nizarid armies. I didn't expect to be this strong already in this war. Calling in Venice was completely unnecessary. Though this time, at least they actually showed up. I'm doing so well that I'll split my forces and send a mercenary army to siege the allies of the Nizarids. I end my second war with the Nizarids by taking a lot of money, which allows me to pay off all my debt as well as a few key provinces for Alexandrian trade. Without them, I don't think the Nizarids will ever recover. And finally, I have no loans. Though I won't be celebrating for long because I'm still not making any money and honestly I have no idea why. Since my ruler is very young and also has the patron trait, I'll equip him with a tribute that grants discipline. I'm sure he won't die from some stupid event too soon. It turns out that in the Persian region there are many countries, but they are Zoroastrian rather than Islamic. I'll improve relations with them, maybe I'll even form an alliance later. For now, I'm planning to conquer the rest of Iraq. And honestly, I need a better administrative point generation, so I'm changing my court's focus. I may have conquered too much. I'm implementing my third government reform, and this time I'm focusing on taxes. Hopefully, this will fix my budget. In every single state where I don't need to convert the religion, I'm raising taxes. It's a bit better, but only slightly. I'm seriously considering whether combining religious quantity and trade ideas would be a better approach. I'll use the time between wars to develop my ports and trade centers in the Alexandria region. Though I doubt it will help much. Trade from Alexandria just keeps flowing away. And of course rebellions. Let's not forget about the rebellions. And even more rebellions. Honestly, sometimes I've had enough of this. The upside of conquering a lot of provinces was that when I converted them, I gained a lot of papal influence. It turns out I can spend this influence on certain national decisions that can be repeated every 10 years, like funding my crusade or requesting military support. For now, I'll take higher taxes and cheaper construction costs. And since things were going too smoothly, Andalusia just declared me the target of their holy war. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds scary. I'm also expanding my trade fleet to strengthen commerce in Alexandria. I'm using my conquest money to build churches and production workshops. As soon as my truce with the Nizarids ends, I attack them again. This time alone using a religious casus belli. Oh, the Seljuks intervened in this war. And there goes the Seljuk army. The Nizarids didn't sit idle either. Look at how much land they've taken toward Ethiopia. And my ruler, who had battle bonuses, just died. In my third war with the Nizarids, I take tons of gold, this time just for myself, and cut them off from the Mediterranean. By conquering Egypt, I now have access to the Grand Crusade. A Grand Crusade against Lithuania? What do I have to do with Lithuania? Though I must admit, this casus belli is insanely strong, but how do I get it? Do I have to be the Pope and designate crusade targets? I could really use such a crusade against the Seljuks right now, because it turns out that Andalusia is the defender of the Sunni faith. That means they will intervene in all my wars against Sunni nations. And that country is ridiculously powerful. It has twice the army size I do, so I need to change my strategy and focus on Orthodox nations. Nicaea will be my first target, especially since they stand in my way to taking Constantinople, the best trade center in the region. I converted Mecca to Catholicism, and now I've gained a free missionary for it. Though I find it strange that I don't get an additional missionary for controlling Jerusalem, for the war against Nicaea, I'll need a bigger navy to block those straits. It also turns out that if you don't have a cardinal in your country, you can't invest papal influence into electing the next pope. I feel ignored. Here I am fighting for Catholics, conquering their holy cities, and I don't even have a single cardinal, and I'm converting all these lands to the one true faith. Disgusted by this, I launch my invasion of Nicaea, at least it will cheer me up. Here's a pro tip if you're playing this mod. You don't scroll through the era bonuses bar by clicking the arrows, you use the middle mouse wheel. Nicaea's armies must be somewhere in Bulgaria because they are nowhere to be found here. Meanwhile, the Bulgarian army is in Venice, which is not great for them. Since there were no enemy troops in Nicaea, I occupied the country very quickly. Unfortunately, Venice also had claims here. My next step is to take the Bulgarian capital, since they are now the only ones that matter in this war. I'll just leave this without comment. After capturing the Bulgarian capital, I rush in and crush their army. I need to end this war as soon as possible. I finished the war with Nicaea by cutting them off from the Seljuks and securing access to Constantinople for the future. And now I can finally move my troops south, where Andalusia's invasion is advancing. I also hire a discipline advisor. I need to deal as much manpower damage to my opponent as possible. I gather and consolidate my forces. I have far less manpower than Andalusia, so I need to conserve it. I hire a massive mercenary army. They'll be the first to engage in battles. My manpower army will join shortly after, and my brave ruler will lead us into battle. Though, to be honest, he's not that talented. For some reason, the Andalusian forces have retreated, and I managed to retake Sirte. To win, I must hold this province. I probably won't go on the offensive, except in Tunis, because if I can knock them out of this war, it will give me a huge advantage. Every time I manage to defeat the Andalusian troops, they'll retreat all the way back to Morocco. I also have the option to choose a great military reform, but right now I care more about that mercenary bonus. Although the battles are going very much in my favor. Wow, I'm really winning here. I think I have a significant advantage in army quality, as long as I don't go bankrupt. I also managed to win a few naval battles, as well as even more land battles. Ultimately, I won this war. I won't lie, it was tough but probably worth it. 2,500 gold, war reparations, and that's it. And I lost half as many troops as Andalusia. I came out of the war with Andalusia even stronger and richer than when I entered it. I have no loans and I have more manpower. Catholicism is also spreading very quickly in all the territories I conquered. I'm doing so well that I even invited Christians to the lands I've conquered. However, the best bonus is that Andalusia lost the Defender of the Faith title. Now Jaunpur holds that title. But that country is so far away that it's probably not a threat to me. That's why I'm now starting a war in Arabia, as well as against the Nizarids. Oh, I didn't expect this. Jaunpur actually showed up. The Nizarid forces, even when gathered together, stand no chance against my army. I'm inflicting heavy losses on them. That was easy. I took over a lot of rich territories. Right after that, I won the war against Nicaea. Meanwhile, in the heart of Europe, alongside the Hussite heresy, Protestantism has also emerged. Good, more unbelievers to conquer. For now though, I'll focus on suppressing rebellions, as I have quite a lot of them. Wow, I even finally got a cardinal. I'm investing in supporting my candidate. I want to have the Pope. I also need to start converting my provinces more effectively, so I have a few things to do. I need to issue religious edicts in specific areas to speed up conversion, as well as re-rolling cultures so they are always accepted. It's costly, but it significantly speeds up the whole process, and of course, Lotharingia is the new Pope. Another matter is reducing autonomy in the conquered territories. Yes, lots of rebellions, but autonomy is a killer for both the economy and manpower. In the Constantinople trade node, I'm expanding all trade centers, building marketplaces where they were missing, and in provinces with 15 development, I'm even upgrading infrastructure. As soon as I convert a province to Catholicism, I'll switch the edicts to trade-focused ones. To secure my trade, I invaded the territories of the Seljuks and their allies. I also noticed that I have a mission to complete, resolving the fate of Islam. I can declare another victory for the cross, or become a more tolerant country. That conquest bonus is so good that I have to take it. The next area I'm developing is the Nile Delta. Here, I need to upgrade these provinces to diplomatic level 7. At the same time, I became an empire. Developing these provinces will allow me to trigger this mission, which is very powerful economically. I just need to finish dealing with the rebels in the area. And maybe I'll convert the whole region to Catholicism while I'm at it and build a couple more forts. I'm also conquering the Seljuks allies. And from the Seljuks themselves, I'm taking all the provinces that will increase my share in the Constantinople trade, and I still need to humiliate the Seljuks because that will double the duration of the mission bonus, and it's worth it. Since the tax era is coming to an end, this is the perfect time to activate tax edicts everywhere, literally everywhere, even in places where I still need to finish conversions. And finally, I'm looting my administrative development and getting a huge amount of money. Yes, all those tax bonuses affect the amount of gold you get from this. I looted a lot of provinces. Now I'll allocate those 4,000 gold to further investments. A new era has begun, and it will definitely be my era. And this bonus will allow me to conquer entire countries in a single war. That's why I was considering whether to trigger the golden era now. I also have a unique national improvement that reduces the cost of cultural conversion. And if I had religious ideas to go with it, it would be even more profitable, but I don't. Alright, now I'll focus on conquering Arabia. Because, you know, I want a bigger name, that's the whole point of this game. And a ton of cheap, useless provinces that will only cause me constant rebellions. Turns out, after conquering Egypt, I had a really good mission for developing my provinces. I missed it. All drylands provinces receive these modifiers. The conquest of these Arab tribes isn't much of a problem. My opponents don't stand a chance. I'm not worried about coalitions anymore. There are very few Islamic nations left in the region. With the onset of the Reformation era, it's a good time to review all areas and reassign trade edicts where necessary, since we had feudal ones. I also changed my government reform, which caused all my edicts to disappear. Before I execute this era's improvement, I need to focus on my country's economic development. Because honestly, for such a large country, I'm earning ridiculously little. And I'm also slightly behind in technology. I'll also break my alliance with Sicily because I plan to test how Grand Crusades work. Since I already have a large share of trade in Constantinople, I'm moving my capital here. I'm also focusing on completing all my remaining economic missions from the development tree. Thanks to this, the goods produced in some provinces change to much better ones. And I also get a 50% production bonus. I also finished upgrading Jerusalem to level 40, which grants me some minor bonuses. Finally, 20 random provinces will get +1 military development. I didn't benefit much from this though. But hey, 5 years have passed, I can attack Sicily, especially since I'm already at war with Andalusia. Of course, I'm starting a Grand Crusade. During this crusade, I can activate this bonus. It seems like it will last until the end of the game. The most important thing for me in the war against Sicily is capturing Malta, because it has one of the most powerful monuments for conquest. Luckily, a great battle took place between my fleet and the Sicilian fleet right after my landings in Sicily and Malta. So even if I lost, nothing would have happened, but fortunately I won. It turned out that many other countries started joining my crusade. I regret not launching this crusade earlier. I think the position of Catholics in the world would look much better if I had. Right now it looks good only in the Middle East. Sicilian forces were completely crushed in subsequent battles. But suddenly the Seljuks joined this war. Before ending the war with Sicily, I take this expansion, which allows me to conquer nearly 25% more land. And you know what's the best part? I can practically conquer this entire large country in just one war. I can also take a lot of land in Sicily. The northern part isn't worth it since Venice occupies everything. So I guess I'll go for it. The only issue is that my overextension is so high, 180%, that I would explode soon. So I'll release a vassal here, something like Naples, convert its religion and let it manage this territory and slowly convert it to Christianity. After Sicily's fall, my next goal will be conquering Bulgaria because I need roads from them. Although this could be a tough war, considering how many allies they have. Bulgaria itself also has a pretty formidable army. My advantage, however, is that I'm just introducing military tech level 12 while they only have 10. Venice also has level 12. So I don't hesitate and strike straight at the Bulgarian capital. I must admit though that Bulgaria has expanded its borders a lot. Luckily, this country has almost no fortresses. Meanwhile, I have so many that I'd probably be much harder to conquer. Alright, I'll use my technological advantage and focus on destroying my enemy's armies. They're dying quickly. And in the end, I didn't even have to fight this war for long because at 58% war score, I take everything I wanted. This allows me to restore the hospitalaires on roads, of course, now under my rule. I also avenged the 4th Crusade, whatever that was. And I received a bonus mercenary company. Too bad it consumes professionalism. I also noticed that I can launch Grand Crusades not just against crusade targets. I have no idea what determines this, but it's incredibly powerful. Because of this, I will definitely be able to conquer this country in one war. That is, if I survive the wave of rebellions. Hey, and once again, allies have joined my side in the war. For some reason, I can even declare a grand crusade against the Khmer and other nations. I have no idea what determines this. If you've played this mod, let me know in the comments, because the missions don't explain anything. The war with the Shapurids is going so smoothly that I've set my armies to automatic mode. In the end, I was right. I can conquer this country in one war, 2/3 of Persia, one war. The price? Tons of aggressive expansion, but I don't care. YOLO. I'll also loot these provinces and transfer some development to Constantinople. Wait, I don't see this nation here to release. Where is it? Oh, it's here. Phew, what a relief. Alright, this vassal isn't very loyal. So I spent some prestige and monarchy points, and now they are loyal. The cost of annexing such a vassal is astronomical. I wouldn't recommend using this conquest method too often, however, there is a way to reduce annexation costs. Combining quality administrative and vassal ideas lowers the cost by 60%. Now that the situation is stabilized, I can create the Latin Empire. As a vassal, instead of ruling it, I feel disappointed. But let's see. It has my color and is a personal union, so I'm keeping Constantinople in my hands. Meanwhile, I have secured almost the entire Middle East and am spreading Catholicism nicely. I even got a few more cardinals. It's starting to work. And I am the most powerful empire in the world, with a solid economy and one of the largest armies. But my Andalusian rival still exists, and unfortunately for me, Andalusia has colonies that will definitely strengthen it. Although, for now, these colonies are miserable. In this episode, I show you how to build a powerful colonial state with large and rich colonies. I also show you many tricks that you may not have known.